Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. You know, values and principles are not situational. That is, if one of your relatives commits a crime, we don't call it a crime. But if someone that we don't know commits the same crime, we call it a crime. If the crime was committed by whomever, that should be a crime and that person will become a criminal. Now, we have a situation here where there are certain attacks on a nation or nationality, on its culture, on its, tribe. How do you call that? I think that's called kind of like a xenophobic attack. Xeno from the Greek word foreign. It's a kind of phobia, afraid of strangers or so. Well, I don't think these guys are afraid of them, but that's how it's called. When you attack someone on the basis of, their race is called racist attack. If it's based on someone's ethnicity, that's, xenophobic attack, and so on. Now you have other terms for other conditions. So if we have values here and we have principles, we should call certain actions as they are, regardless of who conduct those acts. What's going on? We had in the Baltic states and some European countries, Baltic states are in Europe, but I just want to make a difference between, separate the Western Europeans or Europeans, Baltic states, Poland, where they removed certain statues specifically because they were associated with Russians, with Russia. Well, how do you call that? They say, well, it's because the Russians attacked. Okay, well, let's say you would have a statue of Vladimir Putin somewhere, let's say in Brussels. Well, if you want to remove that because he is accused of committing crimes, okay, well, I understand that one. But why would you, for instance, remove a Tolstoy sculpture or bust or a monument? Or I don't know, Ayvazovsky or Shishkin or let's say Pushkin in this case. Why would you do that? Now that is you're having a problem with the Russians by removing Russian culture, which is universal, as Pushkin was a world-class poet, wasn't he? So let me give you two examples where if this would happen to other groups, would be called anti-this, anti-that for good reason. But against Russians, it's not called that way. On the contrary, it's kind of like applauded. So you tell me how our principles and values work. So when you hear we defend our values and principles, these things should be condemned. When you remove and you attack someone, some other country, some other tribe, some other ethnicities, culture, and monuments. Let me show you what's going on here. I have two examples. One comes from Russia Today, obviously not from New York Times or anything like Deutsche Welle or Associated Press or BBC. All right, here. EU capital, this is from the 25th of April, EU capital, European Union capital, to demolish monument to poet Pushkin. Now what did Pushkin do? Write poetry. That's all. Latvian MPs reportedly fear the sculpture could become a gathering spot for people celebrating the USSR's victory over Nazism. This is what the Russians say, okay? I ignore all this, I'm just talking, this is a guy, a world-class poet, and he's going to be removed. The City Council of the Latvian city Riga voted on Tuesday to demolish a monument to 19th century Russian poet Alexander Pushkin, Vice Mayor Malinda Ozola said on Facebook. And I'm quoting, Pushkin's days in the Kronvalda Park are numbered. Oh, you're happy about it. Remember, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, they have a big large minority of Russian population. Imagine this would happen, let's say, in United States of America. Let's say You have, let's say, Mexico is fighting, let's say, Guatemala, and we like Guatemala more than we like Mexico because Mexico attacked Guatemala unprovoked. And therefore, we're going to start destroying any monument, any cultural monument, and ban Spanish language here, even though, Guatemala speaks. Okay? But let's say, because these guys are dumb. Remember when George W. Bush said that they speak Mexican in Mexico? Anyway, but we all make mistakes. But this guy was a pattern, an accident that always occurred. So anyway, imagine that would happen here. Is that fair? Do you think that, how would that be called? All right, so I think this is one of my points. And the hatred that is in this article, I'm not going to read you the whole article to express the hatred these MPs and, the city council of this. Remember, the number doesn't make you right. So if you have, in a community, you have, let's say, 100 people, and you have 99 voting to kill the one and take his money, you can't say, well, there were 99, what are you going to punish all? That's democracy. No, it's not like that. You know what I mean? I mean, they can do that even though that's an infringement of the other person's rights, which that democracy cannot do. But in this case, how would you call this act? Yeah, we're going to vote to discriminate and erase some other nation's culture. Pushkin did not do anything, but wrote poetry. That tells me not only that you hate that nation, you hate its culture, and you narrow your intellectual horizon. That's all you do. Because your students will be deprived of reading Pushkin's poems. And that's a loss for your children, your Latvian children. Not for the Russians, but for you. So it's like, well, I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know. I don't like you. I don't like you. I don't like you. I don't like anybody. And I will not listen, and I'm not going to promote anything from my society coming from you guys. Yes, America, yeah, you're doing the right thing. Yes, our values. So that means I deprived myself of so many valuable, beautiful things created by some people. And I will support Pushkin. I don't care about Putin. I care about Pushkin. All right. So let's go to the next article here, which is even more dangerous, is coming from the New Voice of Ukraine. With these guys seem to celebrate it, I gotta tell you, based on the flavor of this article. So, Russian Cultural Center in Cyprus set ablaze by Molotov cocktails. And there's a video. I'm not going to play the video. I don't even know if these guys let me in the free world here that I live in. April 26, 2023. So this is ablaze the Russian Cultural Center. Why? Why? Because there are some animals. I didn't know that Cyprus is at war with Russia, or if people who did this are at war with Russian culture. But you can say, well, it's used for this. It's used or is not used, it's a cultural center. According to eyewitnesses, allegedly Molotov cocktails were thrown into the building. There were two loud pops. The wall and roof are on fire, Radchenko said. People, I'm quoting, people have been evacuated, people have surrounded the building, firefighters are working at the scene, end quote. Now, propagandists later reported that the fire was extinguished and the cultural center suffered significant damage. What do you mean propagandists? Anyway, the Nicosia Fire Department said they were investigating the cause of the fire. The Russian embassy in Cyprus reported no victims. What does this right here have to do with the whole thing? Now, who's the propagandist? Ukrainska Pravda, New Voice of Ukraine? You tell me. Propagandists later reported that the fire was extinguished and the cultural center suffered significant damage. Where is the propaganda here? Was there a fire? Yes. Was it extinguished eventually? And the cultural center suffered significant damage. I can look at this. What do you think? Why do you think that fire? Look at it. I don't see the video right here. Let's see. Maybe on this something part. Something cultural center. If I go here, probably not. Let's see what they give me here. Russia likely embassies for espionage. It's another thing. All right, so they tell us something else here. So you tell me, my friends, where was the propaganda there? No, those people attacked the cultural center. First, they attacked Russian building, property, in a third party country. It has nothing to do with the war. So there were some, I don't know, Ukrainians. Would you support, let's say, if tomorrow you would find out it was some Ukrainian, I don't know, sabotage group? Would you support that? Because if you support that, then you would support the vice versa. The opposition doing the same thing. Like, I don't know, blowing up an American cultural center in, I don't know, let's say in Germany, because Afghanistan is upset about it. Or Libyans are upset about it. Or Serbs are upset about it. Or I don't know, I can go on and on. Or maybe the Vietnamese are still upset. Or I don't know, Koreans. I can go on and on. Why? Because the United States left a big shitty trail behind it. So would you like that? We say, well, then you can't agree with this. All right. Now, you can, but that would put you in a different category. Now, if that was not conducted by organized, crime, put it this way, or the special troops, special forces, cells within Cyprus, Ukrainian cells activated. Let's say where there are some people who felt the need to destroy anything that was Russian. How would you call that act? And how would you call those guys? Heroes? I understand they would be the heroes of some, and they would be the terrorists of others, the same people. Now, how would you consider them? Always put yourself and put your nation in the boots of the other one. I'm not talking about Russia being good or bad, not Russia, the Russian government. These guys conflate Russian people, Russian culture, everything that's Russian with a war in Ukraine, unprovoked, I gotta say that, okay? Is that fair? Then everything the United States should be, if you look, so many countries would have grievances against United States. I'm giving United States only as an example. I can use Great Britain, I can use France. All Africa could be upset with the former colonial powers, if you know what I mean. Or South America. Oh my God. You're going to have the Netherlands, you're going to have North America. Netherlands, Great Britain, you're going to have France, you're going to have Portugal, Spain, if I didn't mention it. And you're going to have all these guys. Should they do it? Or it's a statute of limitation. After 5 years we're done, or maybe after 3 days we're done. Again, based on the situation. That is a xenophobic act. And I think these guys that have values, especially the United States of America, which is very sensitive about this kind of hate crimes, for good reason, if it's a crime, it's a crime, but they're very sensitive, but it's situational. That tells you that's not a value and is not a principle. It's a situational justice. You don't want that, because they could judge you in a different way that they could judge Gigi, okay? Because Gigi is their friend. He's gonna just get off the hook. You won't. You like that? No, you don't like that. Neither do I. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.